Peloton Bike Plus vs NordicTrack S22i. Which is the better bike? Today we're gonna find out. Each of these two bikes is the respective flagship model in the company's lineup. And in the next few minutes, we're gonna dive in and take a closer look at the Peloton Bike Plus and see how it compares and stacks up to the NordicTrack S22i. For starters, if you don't already know, the Peloton Bike Plus costs $2,495, and that's just for the bike. You don't get the shoes, and you also have to pay for the Peloton All Access membership, which is $39 per month in order to access the classes on the screen. And the NordicTrack S22i costs about $2,000, and usually you can get 1 year of ifit for free when you buy this bike. And ifit is simply the name of the classes that are found on the NordicTrack bikes. Each of these bikes has a lot of similarities and also a lot of differences, and in the next few minutes we're gonna go through and take a closer look and break down and compare the similarities and differences in these two bikes. So if you're in the market to buy a Peloton Bike Plus or a NordicTrack S22i, then hopefully by the end of this video you'll be a little bit more informed about which bike is the better buy for you. Starting with the very basics, both of these bikes are belt-driven magnetic resistance, and they both have digitally controlled magnetic resistance. And we'll get more into the specs here in just a moment, but the flywheel weight on the Peloton Bike Plus is believed to be 38 pounds, while the NordicTrack S22i has a clearly stated flywheel mass of 32 pounds. However, don't pay too much attention to that number, because over the past few months I've learned that flywheel mass actually doesn't mean as much as you might think. In just a few moments I'm going to hop on each of these bikes and compare them head to head and tell you about the drivetrain feel and how the maximum resistance on each of these bikes stacks up. But before we do that, let me tell you some other things. One thing about the NordicTrack S22i that makes it significantly different from the Peloton bike is it has a 20% incline and 10% decline ability with a little motor built into it that raises the whole bike up and down. Additionally, the resistance and incline can be automatically adjusted through the instructor on the NordicTrack bike, while on the Peloton Bike Plus, simply the resistance can be adjusted by the instructor, and there is no incline or decline feature on the Peloton Bike Plus. Both of these bikes come with relatively massive screens attached to the front of them, and the NordicTrack screen is actually 22 inches, whereas the Peloton Bike Plus has a 24-inch rotating screen. On the NordicTrack, you can simply rotate the screen around 180 degrees this way, and it can also come around 180 degrees this way. The Peloton Bike Plus can do the exact same thing, rotating it like this. Each of the screens stops in the middle, so you can't rotate it all the way around and tangle up the cables. You just turn it around and go the other way. Additionally, each of the screens can tilt up and down a little bit as well. On the NordicTrack S22i, there is absolutely no resistance knob. This is simply a stop that you push down on to stop the flywheel in case of an emergency. There's actually a few different ways to adjust your resistance on the NordicTrack bike. The first way is through these plus and minus buttons over here on the right side of the handlebars. Additionally, you can change your resistance very quickly and easily by sliding the slider bar here. And also the instructors can change your resistance for you during a class. Over here on the left side, there's an incline and decline button that you press to raise and lower the bike. You can also adjust the incline and decline here on the screen, and additionally the instructors can change the incline and decline for you during a ride. Here's what it sounds like adjusting. And in comparison on the Peloton Bike Plus, you get this digital resistance knob which changes your resistance very quickly. The Peloton Bike Plus gives you all the important metrics such as cadence, power output, and your resistance that you're currently on right up here on the screen, and many more metrics as you would expect. Over here on the NordicTrack S22i, you also get all the important metrics such as power, your incline, your cadence, your resistance, and everything you would expect. One fairly useful thing the NordicTrack S22i has on it that the Peloton Bike Plus doesn't have is a fan. Yes, it sounds like a fan, but it is really nice to have right there to blow some cool air at you while you're riding. If you're finding this video beneficial, please give me a thumbs up. Any questions or comments you have, please leave down below. To my surprise, the NordicTrack S22i actually comes with these very basic pedals. They are a cage style pedal on one side and just a normal pedal on the other side. Steel teeth, very basic pedals. I believe they're the exact same pedals that are on the $385 Proform bike you can buy at Costco. However, the threading on the crank arm is standard, so you can put any pedals you would like on this bike, including you could throw these pedals on there if you wanted to. One good thing about these pedals is you actually don't need any special kind of shoes that you need to put on in order to just get on this bike and ride. The Peloton Bike Plus comes with these style pedals that you need to clip into with these style shoes. However, as you can see, we actually remove these pedals and we put our own pedals on. I prefer to use these SPD style clip-in pedals because it's basically what I've used my whole life, and you can use more attractive shoes like these ones, and you can actually walk on these shoes when you get off the bike if you want to do a workout off the bike, you know, during a session as well. These style shoes might be a little bit more efficient for putting down power. However, you have no chance to walk around on these things. Also, they are very difficult to unclip, and we have seen horror stories about these pedals literally snapping off during a ride and causing injury. Okay, now that my standard pedal rant is over, we will take a closer look at the drivetrains here in just a moment, but before we do that, let's talk about the adjustability and the maximum handlebar height, because that is kind of important. For starters, both of these bikes have a very high maximum saddle height, so they're both great for tall people. I'm 6'5", my inseam is about 34, and I don't have the seat on maximum height for either of these bikes. Another thing that both these bikes have in common is they are three-way adjustable, meaning the handlebars do not go forwards and backwards on either one of these bikes. Both of the bikes do not have holes to click into, so you can have micro adjustments on all of the adjustment points, and they both have adjustment knobs to adjust these. The Peloton Bike Plus does have these rubberized adjustment knobs to move the handlebars up and down, as well as moving the seat up and down. And while the plastic ones on the NordicTrack don't feel quite as nice to the touch, they both get the job done and they work just fine. I would like to point out the sound system on the Peloton Bike Plus is absolutely phenomenal in comparison to the NordicTrack sound system. One of the big contributing factors on why the Peloton Bike Plus sound system sounds so much better is it has forward-facing speakers, but not only that, it has rear-facing speakers and subwoofers as well. So the sound system on the Peloton Bike Plus is really nice. As comparison, the NordicTrack S22i has speakers in the back, and when you're listening to the sound, you can just kind of hear that it is actually pointing away from you, and it's one thing that I've noticed. You can definitely hear the sound just fine on the NordicTrack S22i, but with my experience, I can say I really prefer the Bike Plus sound system. That being said, you can put your own headphones in or plug in your own audio system using the in and out audio ports here on the NordicTrack S22i, which over here on the Peloton Bike Plus, you also get that audio out, and of course you can hook up your AirPods or wireless speakers on either of these through Bluetooth. So let's take a moment to talk about the differences between ifit and Peloton right now. I'm over here on the NordicTrack S22i, and I have a outdoor instructor-led class playing, and I will say that the instructor-led outdoor classes on the ifit app are really pretty cool. You can do basically like destination-based rides, places where people might travel from around the world to come to a location like this just to do a ride. And the instructor-led classes are actually really neat. My very first night I got the NordicTrack bike, I did one of these and I was a little bit skeptical about it. However, I did a hill climb in Spain, and the instructor is actually really helpful, and the scenery and stuff that you get along the way is actually really beautiful, and it really kind of makes you feel like you're riding outside. And as you can kind of hear the motor working here, the incline and decline is automatically adjusted for you. So like as you're going through the terrain, it'll automatically adjust for you, and the resistance changes for you as well. And you can also obviously change that stuff on your own if you want to change it to more suit what you're ready for. And there are a lot of rides to choose from. You can do like road bike courses outside, mountain bike stuff, all kind of stuff, lots of stuff. And in addition to that, they also have studio rides, so let's talk about that. Here's what it looks like in a studio ride on the ifit. And you know, one thing that ifit really gets a lot of flack for is their studio rides in comparison to the Peloton Bike Plus. So you know, a lot of people think that the Peloton Bike Plus studio rides are better, and you know, this is really a personal preference thing. So one thing that ifit really kind of gets a lot of flack for is the music. If you're signing up for ifit and you want the latest and greatest music, that is just not gonna happen. However, ifit does offer this little feature right here where you can independently adjust the music volume from the trainer volume and the master volume. So if you want to play your own music during an ifit class, you don't have to listen to the music that they have in the class. You can play your own through your own speakers. On the Peloton bike, you do not get this option to completely turn off the music independent from the instructor. However, you can adjust it to make the music louder in relation to the instructor, or you can make it so that the instructor is louder in relation to the music. However, you don't get the option to completely turn off the music. That being said, people who sign up for Peloton seem to really like the music, and they have a lot of music deals, a lot of popular music, a lot of hip stuff. There's a lot of variety in music choices, and a lot of these classes in Peloton are based around a music theme to really kind of get your cadence in sync with the ride. So if you want the latest and most popular music, then I would say between these two machines, the Peloton Bike is the obvious choice. However, if you want to do outdoor scenic rides, this is an example of a Peloton outdoor scenic ride. You don't get that instructor in front of you giving you guidance and adjusting your resistance and all that stuff and adjusting. You're not going to get that incline, decline, obviously, on the Peloton Bike Plus. And the scenic rides on the Peloton Bike are kind of more like just a drone kind of like going through. It really, it gives you kind of something pretty to look at, but it's really just not the same experience you get on the ifit outdoor rides. So if you like doing instructor-led classes outdoors where it feels like you're actually riding along somewhere with an instructor and getting guidance with incline and decline, the Peloton Bike Plus really is kind of lacking in terms of what ifit has to offer in this feature currently. So with regard to the Peloton software and the ifit software, that's really all I want to say in this video. I'm going to have a whole separate video comparing ifit versus Peloton in another video. So now what I'm going to do is just hop on both these bikes back to back, compare the drivetrains, compare the max resistance, and just really share my thoughts and opinions with you as I compare these two highly popular flagship bikes of their respective companies. Starting over here on the NordicTrack S22i, I have my cycling shoes on. I'm using the cages because that's what comes on this bike. You can put whatever pedals you want on this bike though. So I'm just gonna get on here and just kind of feel it out. It's on resistance 1. One of the very first things I noticed about the NordicTrack S22i in comparison to the Peloton bike, this bike is much more similar to an actual road bike in terms of the geometry and how you feel when you get on the bike. So I don't have the seat height on the maximum height on this bike. It's actually on 31 out of 34. I'm 6'5", I weigh 190 pounds, so this bike has a really high saddle height, so it's great for tall people. However, I do have the handlebars on the maximum height, so this bike kind of tends to put you more in a road bike cycling position if you're taller, because the handlebars, according to what it says on here, come up to here for maximum. I have heard some people say you can raise them a little bit higher beyond maximum. They are actually very slightly above maximum, but this thing weighs a lot, so I'm just putting them on max. So that being said, this bike does kind of put you more in a road bike riding position. So this bike seems to be like really great for people who are training for like outdoor road bike cycling or training for like a real outdoor bike. So what does the drivetrain feel like? The drivetrain on this bike feels really good, and I'm actually really looking forward to comparing these two head to head. I rode them both last night. I did a ride on both of them last night, and they're both really great bikes. So here on Resistance 1, the flywheel on this bike I believe is 32 pounds. It has a lot of inertia. It feels like a very solid drivetrain. Right here it says SMR, Silent Magnetic Resistance. The resistance on this bike is actually more quiet than on the Peloton Bike Plus. That being said, once you start adjusting this thing to come up and down, it's pretty noisy. It's fine, but it does make noise. Also, as the incline comes up, it increases your resistance, so it kind of simulates riding up a hill. So right now I have the bike on maximum incline and minimum resistance. I'm going to drop the incline to -10, and here's what it looks like and sounds like. Oh, they crashed a little bit. They're crashing. It's a little head-to-head duel. So it actually makes a significant difference. You know, you might think that, you know, it just kind of changes the angle of the bike and it doesn't do anything. That's kind of what I thought when I first got this bike. However, it really changes the way the resistance on your arm feels. So you have to like support your body when you're down in like the maximum incline position. So I'm at -10. You can see like it really kind of feels like I'm going down a hill. On the other hand, I bump it up, way up. You can see the handlebars actually raise in relation to the seat. So if you do want to get those handlebars higher, the workaround here is to just kind of do an incline and you can get the handlebars higher and the seat lower. It does make the bike a little bit more comfortable to ride on. That being said, when you're on the maximum incline and minimum resistance, it still simulates you're riding up a hill. So the resistance is pretty heavy right now. So, it's more comfortable, but it's like you're riding up a hill. Another thing I should point out is if you want to achieve maximum resistance on the NordicTrack S22i, you have to raise that incline to maximum incline as well as raise the resistance to maximum resistance. So really the incline decline is a very unique feature on this bike in comparison to all the other bikes I have here. And it really does change the dynamic of the ride. So if you're looking for something that can simulate an outdoor ride, the NordicTrack S22i is better at that than any of the other bikes I have here. The bike feels very sturdy, very beefy. I really like the hand grips on this bike, the material that they're made out of. They feel very thick and very grippy. I don't really love the plastic part on the very end of the handlebars where you adjust your resistance and stuff. But it's fine. It is nice that it's kind of wider and it gives you a bigger surface area to put your hands on. Overall, the drivetrain feels really nice. Let's hop straight over on the Peloton Bike Plus and see how it compares. Okay, over here on the Peloton Bike Plus, let's start out on a low resistance here and just kind of feel it out. The very first thing I noticed about the Peloton Bike Plus is the difference in sound between these two bikes. It's not a big deal, they both are pretty quiet bikes, but the silent magnetic resistance on that bike is legitimately very silent, you can't hear it. Peloton Bike Plus makes a small little whine, you can kind of hear it. Not a big deal, honestly, just something I kind of noticed. The other big first observation over here on the Peloton Bike Plus is the handlebars are on maximum height here. And I can tell you that it does make it a little bit more comfortable for somebody who wants to be in an upright riding position. However, you still get that ability to drop them down lower and get in a more aggressive riding position if that's what you want. And I'm speaking from perspective as a tall person. I'm 6'5". The seat is not on maximum height, but the handlebars are on maximum height. So I get that option as a tall person to kind of get the handlebars up a little higher. As far as the way the drivetrain feels, it feels nice on the Peloton Bike Plus. I don't know if I'm going to have an answer in terms of which is the better feeling drivetrain, because these are two very quality bikes. And they should be, right? $2,000, $2,495 is a lot of money for an indoor bike. The handlebars on both bikes are very nice and very thick. I did notice that they are a little bit more grippy on the S22i. I'm not sure if that's because we've had the Peloton bike for a while now and the grip is worn out. I don't think that's the case because right here it's not quite as grippy. Regardless, they're both very nice handlebars. They both feel thick and nice and grippy enough. Those are a little bit more grippy though on the S22i. Okay, so let's do a maximum resistance test. So I'll crank this one up to 100. This has been the long-standing king of max resistance. Not only does the max resistance go really high, it also feels very smooth with that magnetic resistance. I'm on 100. Cadence is 40, power output 290. Cadence 40, power output 280-ish. Let's go over there and see how it compares. Hopping straight on back over here to the NordicTrack S22i, I feel like the inertia from the flywheel on this bike possibly, maybe, might be a little more than the Peloton Bike Plus. We'll have to hop back and forth and really compare it. Ooh. Okay, so What I'm gonna do is I'm on incline 0. I'm gonna crank it to max resistance on incline 0. So flat road, max resistance. If I increase the incline, max resistance goes higher. But for starters, so yeah, max resistance on this bike on a flat incline isn't as much as the Peloton Bike Plus, but if I add incline, that's gonna change. So let's see here. It says cadence 40, cadence 45, watts is 160. I mean, I can feel that I'm putting out less power right now on resistance 24, max resistance, flat incline. So let's crank it up. Let's pop a wheelie. Incline 20, resistance 24. Ooh. So cadence is 40. It's claiming watts is 360. What's it feel like though? Let's not worry about those numbers. Cadence and what it feels like. So cadence 40. It's a heavy max resistance. I'm going back over there. Ooh. I don't know. I don't know the answer yet. Max resistance. So cadence still 40. I'm trying to maintain 40. It tells me power output is 2. Hold on. 2. Yeah, like 2. Well, shoot, it's jumping around too much on me. Whew. Heavy max resistance though, on both machines. Power output like shoots up to like 260, down to 300. It's just kind of hopping around a little bit. What's it feel like though? Cadence 40. Oh man, I don't know the answer. I do feel like this bike is reading out a higher watts at the same effort as on the Peloton bike. So obviously that has to do with like calibration and stuff, but this machine is reading out a higher watts at the same cadence on max resistance and max incline. But I do not believe that that is actually like the truth, you know? So this one I can like easily get to like pop up to like 500 watts. I'm going back over there. I don't know guys, it might be a wash on max resistance. Honestly, it's like so close. I really can't tell. Both these bikes have a very smooth feeling maximum resistance, at maximum resistance, and they both have very smooth feeling drivetrains. Two very quality bikes. That being said, I might revisit the maximum resistance here in a little while, but honestly, the truth is, you're not gonna be riding these bikes at max resistance very often, if ever at all, honestly. You're gonna be down in the mid-range, so let's see what they feel like at mid-range. Okay, got the Bike Plus down to 25% resistance. Cadence is a healthy 100. Watts output, 55. Feels very smooth. I like the Peloton Bike Plus a lot. And honestly, I like the S22i a lot more than I thought I was going to when I first got it. Very smooth drivetrain on the Peloton Bike Plus. This is a great bike. Let's hop back over there. So the NordicTrack S22i is a little bit less intuitive in terms of resistance because the scale is 1 to 24 instead of 0 to 100. So I'm just gonna put it on 14. Okay, resistance is on 10 here. One thing that I did notice about changing the resistance is it doesn't go maybe quite as quick as a Peloton Bike Plus, but it does go very, very quickly, especially in comparison to the sister Proform bike back there. This bike has snappy resistance changes. I find myself wanting to change with the screen more than these buttons, because you really you gotta smash them quite a few times to get it from one to another, whereas on the screen you can just like quickly slide your finger along the resistance bar and change it very quickly. Same goes with the incline. The buttons change it like 0.5% at a time, whereas you can just use your finger to slide the whole thing a lot very quickly. So on like a medium resistance of like 8 here, just kind of cranking along. So I actually kind of feel like the inertia from the S22i from the flywheel is actually probably a little bit better than the Peloton Bike Plus. Like when I go to stop this thing, even though the flywheel weighs less, I don't know what it is. Maybe this gear back here in relation to the gear on front is different. The gearing is different. But this bike has like a lot of inertia. And it feels like a very quality drivetrain on this bike. The stop button works, you know, it's a little bit weird getting used to a bike that doesn't have the resistance knob right there, but honestly, it's just fine with like the on-screen adjustments and these buttons up here for your hands. The fan is nice, you can get a nice little breeze, so kind of like simulates like riding outdoor, even though it kind of smells like electronics a little bit, like a computer fan, but it gives you a nice breeze. So I mean, if you've ever done indoor cycling, having a fan or some sort of breeze is really, really nice to have on an indoor bike. One last thing I wanted to show you guys is kind of a first person perspective here, the handlebars. So these handlebars actually kind of like have like a little flare down to them, and you get these little grips up here, which I actually find myself using quite often, especially like if it's on the incline, like 10% forward. It's nice to like be able to counterbalance your weight on these, or these front ones. Then you also kind of get like these traditional like bullhorn grips out here on the side and then out here on the front. The plasticky feel on the very end here isn't my favorite, but you know, it's fine, it works. You could always throw on some gloves if you really, really dislike it. But the handlebars do have that traditional flare up for when you're out here in third position. They're nice. Peloton Bike Plus, you know, I like the ends of the grips a little more for position 3, but they flare up. And if you haven't seen it before, this is what they look like from the front. They're flat across here, which I kind of like that. And you also get kind of like these wider triangle positions with a flat spot in the middle. Both handlebars are fine, although these ones are a little more grippy, like I mentioned before on the S22i. Also, you get these weight trays up here in front on the S22i, so it's nice to have them right here to put your weights if you're gonna do a workout with weights, but be careful not to smash your fan down there. Definitely don't hit the screen with these, because they're not like soft on the edges. They're pretty iron feeling material. And the Bike Plus, you get your weight rack in the back where you can also hang your shoes when you're done. Well guys, we're losing daylight, so let me give you my summary on the Peloton Bike Plus versus, you know, the flagship S22i from NordicTrack. So basically we have a $2,000 bike that is, you know, an ifit bike. You get 1 year of ifit for free, but both the memberships for the Peloton Bike Plus and ifit are $39 per month, I believe is what the going rate is. But you do get that 1 year of free ifit when you buy the S22i. Peloton Bike Plus, you do not get any sort of freebies. In fact, you don't get the shoes or the weights or anything when you buy this bike. You have to do that in a separate package. So really, these are both very quality bikes, very high quality feeling drivetrains. Both have very good maximum resistance, very quality feeling mid-range resistance, sufficient low end resistance. These are both great bikes. So really, I think what it comes down to on whether you choose the Peloton Bike Plus or the NordicTrack S22i is really gonna come down to what sort of classes do you want to do? Are you an outdoor road bike cyclist? Do you do racing and you're gonna use this machine for the off season and you want to simulate a road bike experience? I think the NordicTrack S22i is great for that sort of thing. On the screen, you can do instructor-led classes where you follow an instructor and they coach you through the ride on a mountain climb, a scenic ride, you know, like the one I did in Madrid. Or you can go to popular riding destinations all around the world, like New Zealand, yada yada. Lots and lots of stuff for outdoor rides. NordicTrack S22i is great for that. It simulates, it changes that incline up and down, so it kind of simulates the hills, and it really does make a huge difference in the way your upper body works to counteract the weight being shifted from one direction to another, and it changes that resistance when the incline goes up. It's a really neat feature. It does make a little bit of noise, not a big deal. I mean, you are exercising after all. Peloton Bike Plus definitely has the better speaker system. It'll be interesting to see if they come out with a new version of the S22i with an improved speaker system, because I mean the speaker system on the S22i works, of course, and you have those ports, you know, you can put in your Bluetooth headphones or wired headphones on either of these bikes. If you're looking for a studio bike, you want to do the studio classes, a lot of people think that the studio classes offered on the Peloton Bike Plus, the Peloton Experience classes, are better. You know, you're going to get that more fresh music, you know, the stuff that you might hear on the radio, popular songs and stuff. The workouts in the studio classes on the Peloton Bike are really built around that experience, and Peloton does a great job with the studio rides. However, when it comes to outdoor instructor-led classes or simulating riding a bike outdoors, ifit definitely has Peloton beat in that area at the time of this recording. Both of these are great bikes, guys. I do have a link to the NordicTrack S22i below this video in the description box, which if you do buy it through that link, it does help support this channel. So if you're gonna buy it, Amazon does offer free shipping. You get that ifit for free through them as well, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd support the channel. Also, the Peloton Bike Plus, I have a link to this bike below the video in the description box as well. Both of these are very high quality bikes. Thumbs up to both of them. Please give this video a thumbs up, by the way, if this video has been helpful to you. So thanks for watching, guys. Click subscribe, browse my channel, and I'll see you in my next video.